magistrate reached a verdict. I have guilty or innocent. Spare me this mockery of
You definitely
justice.
didn't get anything of quality there.
I don't know. It was sometimes it's not about the quality; it's about the momentum.
The yeah.
Like because you've been watching the Olympics, right? You've been watching the high jumpers. I felt
Yeah,
that
you
we were
feel-
caught up to the bar. I felt that we were just
did
about
it?
to make
We were on the precipice, and I kicked the momentum in the dick.
a little bit. Well, no, it wasn't that. It was just like it was kind of like discovering that there was no bar there to jump over.
Yeah, the jump was good, but
Yeah. Well, we just
there were no stakes,
Yeah.
There were,
Yeah. So then you just halted, bumped into the mat, kind of shook your head, laughed.
wow.
You've been watching the Olympics?
I watched a couple of things, yeah.
Yeah, man, I love the Olympics. I don't like sports generally. You know this about me. Like I'm not anti-sport. I just don't fucking dig it, but I love the Olympics.
Yeah, pro sports are fixed anyway. You want to talk about conspiracies?
Oh shit. I don't.
coming hot off the press with the fucking sports conspiracies.
What do you mean fixed? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
man, it's
hockey
just like
games and
pro
stuff?
wrestling, predetermined outcomes. Yeah.
Fascinating.
You
I
gotta
don't
pay
agree
the-
with that.
You got to pay the sponsors, buddy. You got to bring the money to the town. You got to fill the seats. Basic economics. You can't just have fucking whoever wins win. That's stupid.
See, that's the who benefits argument. And I don't know, what are this? Okay, so what's the conspiracy is like that, like all the wins are balanced out so everybody has
A little
gains?
piece of the
Like,
pie. That's right.
Yeah,
And then
that-
the one where the
that's
people
testable.
aren't.
You could test that.
Let's say the people aren't going somewhere. People aren't
Yeah.
going to, example, Tampa Bay. Ooh, they just won the Stanley Cup.
Florida's an unpopular place. No one ever
they're
goes
not-
to Florida.
They're not filling up that stadium though to play hockey, and I don't know. I'm just making this up. Fuck.
Yeah, you goddamn no. When
Yeah.
people, and it's weird.
Conspiracy people do.
Yeah, that's absolutely what they do. Yeah. Do you got a favorite Olympic sport? Or like
this
Summer
year,
Olympic?
I was pretty hot on the they did a swimming relay that I really enjoyed, where you do different styles. They do the breaststroke, and then you do the one guy does the backstroke, one guy does the breaststroke, and then it's like a four-way heat. That was really awesome. I watched the women compete in that, and the Canadians, I think they placed third.
Okay.
It was that Alexiak that did, because we're Canucks, we're good old Canucks,
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that was very cool. But I don't know that I had seen that particular sport before, or that style of relay.
I find the access to the Olympics this year. Maybe it's just because the lockdown. Not that we're locked down anymore, but I like it. It's a post-pandemic. I just feel like I suddenly every Summer Olympics, it was actually kind of hard to watch all the events, and then this year, and maybe it's just I wasn't, or not, or this round, CBC's program is very good. I can just watch them all. They're all set to go, and you can flip around day to day. It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, and I'm the big judo guy too. I like the judo, and I got to watch more judo matches this year, I think, than any previous Olympics. I know what you mean. There's some kind of increased accessibility or something this year. It's been pretty neat.
Yeah. So I don't know.
What are you watching? What's your sport?
At the Olympic. I was Cynthia and I. We watched the artistic gymnastics, men's and women's.
Oh.
I'm a huge fan of that. With
Real
the bars,
nice.
the pommel horse and the vaulting and shit like that. That like when humans do that, that's so fucking incredible to me. That's I've always loved that. And then I watched some wrestling. The wrestling started yesterday, I think, or the day before. Fucking really great matches, like wins, like proper wins.
The wrestling was saying the judo was not. Kate was
Judo's,
appalled. Yeah, because I said I did judo for many years when I was younger. This is really neat, guys. Watch. I'm showing my family, and Maddie and Kate watched this. They were outraged at how boring it
It's
boring. Yeah. So boring. What are they doing? Well, they're basically like, I said, well, and I'm trying to explain my way out of it. I say, like, a black belt is notoriously difficult to throw, which you need to do to win the Olympics. So when they have two of these high caliber black belts in there, you basically just rough each other up for a grip that you like. And if the other person's like, "Woo, don't like the feeling of that," they break the grip, and then you start over. You basically just break each other's grip for 4 minutes until you go into like overtime and everybody's exhausted. It's it is what it is. Very defensive judo I saw this year.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the way it usually is, but that's exactly it. I saw a couple. I saw a good throw. I saw a nice trip. A couple other things, but generally what you described is accurate. A lot of shirt pulling, a lot of clinching, breaking off. Clinching.
Yeah, that's right. And after about approximately a fucking 180 seconds of that, you're absolutely exhausted.
Yeah. That's why wrestling was such a treat, because you were getting real results.
Yeah, way more exciting. I saw a couple of matches too.
And then I don't know. I watched the weightlifting a little bit. I always think that's interesting, watching humans lift tremendous weights. That's fucking weird to me. And we watched women's water polo, which at first we were like, how does this work? Are they going to sit on each other's shoulders? I don't like, who's the horse? But turns out there's no horse.
I did not know that was a sport.
It's a sport, and so it's just these gigantic. We ended up calling them horsewomen because they're just fucking huge. These gigantic legs, and they just like tread water and play polo in the water, and it was really impressive. I mean, I didn't want to watch another match after I watched the first one, but I came away with a deep respect for the water polo world.
Really just renewed. I'm gonna have to watch a water polo match after this, because you got me there.
Gotcha.
It's funny how like you can go through these. You watch some Canadian results, or whoever your country is. You watch some of your Olympic results, and you get pretty fired up, no matter who it is. But then it seems like there's a sport every once in a while that you're like, that's happening. Like, what the fuck?
That's a thing.
Yeah,
they added
I think the one where you run, and then ride a bike and then shoot stuff at the end. That blew my mind when I was a kid. I'm like, what the fuck sport is that?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but it's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's another boring one to watch, unless you've done it.
Like the swim. What's the other? The swim bike run. That one's good too.
I guess it's triathlon.
Yeah, I mean, you call it what you want.
Yeah, well, you got your fancy name, your fucking your highfalutin terms. Triathlon. Swim bike shoot.
Boom. Yeah. No, swim bike run.
Swim bike run. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No way to transition that into Garth.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. We're here to talk about comics, right? That's what we're about.
That's what we do sometimes.
At the X-tinction Agenda. Yeah, comics and movies of various eras. And so you got your library back because you got your fancy house now, and you unpacked all your stuff.
Some of my stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw on the shelf a little something called Crossed by Garth Ennis with fellow criminals over at Avatar Press, and I have a great fondness for Avatar Press. Just like you can do anything you want there as long as it's lewd, horribly violent, and otherwise they don't care. And
you gotta come to the table with something.
Yeah. And as a consequence, it attracts all these marquee names, like Alan Moore's written for them, Garth Ennis has written for them, obviously, Warren Ellis.
These are almost, for me, these are very close to snuff books. These are odd and probably really low print, And I would imagine that it's not something that a lot of people are going to continue to reproduce and call classic or anything like that.
Some of them, like actually Alan Moore put out a classic, I would say Providence, one of his most recent works, is definitely a classic out of this. But it's got Jason Burrows' art, and that guy can class up a joint, you know. So can Alan Moore, but actually Avatar's pretty much at this point seems to me defunct. Like the only thing that they publish now are reprints with variant covers. I don't know that they're producing new material. I think they got some financial issues, and I think the pandemic kind of hit them hard, and now they're just treading water. But the works that we're going to be talking about. Well, actually, no. Do we want to? Sorry, before we get into Crust, we should probably touch something a little lighter.
Fair enough. Yeah. Hey, also, you know what? I'm gonna just go totally off the rails here because I smoked a bit of weed tonight.
Sure.
And I'm just gonna tell you that the rumor mill. This is just a little tidbit from the rumor mill coming out here on an '80s show, coming into the Masters of the Universe Revelation, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not sure. It's the new one on Netflix. Anyway, Watch first episode. Pretty enjoyable. Really neat little concept. Kevin Smith involved, if you didn't know.
No, I know. I've heard all the bits about this.
Yeah, well, I guess people are coming out and leaving shit reviews on it because they're like saying it's like too left wing and too woke. So they're like mad because they like, I don't know, they put female leads in and sort of like change the narrative a little of this. You know, they use existing characters, but he adjusted the narrative to make like a sort of a more interesting new story. Like we've had He-Man fight Skeletor for 100 years or whatever. Anyway, it's quite good. So I enjoy that Kevin Smith spoke out for himself and has his show going strong, and hopefully it doesn't get canceled, but it probably will because Netflix is weird that way. But
yeah, I've heard all this talk about because it featured Tila, and I don't know, they made someone black or something like that. You know, it's basically the Thor. You know, everybody's reaction to the Thor movies. I don't get it. I've had a bee in my bonnet about this. I'm not going to watch the cartoon. I don't give a fuck about Kevin Smith. But
I like Kevin Smith.
Fine. And the cartoon, like, it's made to sell toys, right? It's always has been. It's always been a disgusting fucking manipulative factory for selling product. And to get up in the air and like, oh my goodness, they ruined He-Man. He-Man was ruined from the moment. It was always already ruined. And it surprises me, but it really doesn't that people would bother to get offended. You know,
Well, you want me to hit you with a big spoiler that kind of made me go, aha. You
know? Sure.
I'm gonna drop it on here. If you guys, if anybody listening to this is really excited about it and you don't want a spoiler, just pause it for a sec. Anyway, no, wait, that's the whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, they kill He-Man and Skeletor in the first episode.
Oh, well, that's a good move. And then it turns into the Tila show.
Yeah, and then Tila is like basically like, here's the secret for the first time, along with the king, because they're like, where's Adam? Well, he's dead because they're one and the same. Oh fuck. Well, then everybody gets mad. Man at Arms gets banished. Tila says fuck all of you and just sort of goes off on her own as like a warrior woman. And, that sort of like starts her journey, and then it's sort of a redo on the whole universe. Anyway, I was like, very clever. Like, I mean, like in terms of like little writing tropes to make your story interesting, I thought that's fucking, hey, what better way to get my attention than to fucking blow some people off the face of the narrative so that I don't have the same old fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Anyway, but to each their own.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't even have Netflix anymore. I mean, okay, well, I don't know what to do with that. Back to Garth.
Yeah. That was from the rumor mill. Yeah.
Yeah. Garth is writing Batman. This is the first time, I think. He's done a couple stories with Hitman, but Garth has never done a Batman story that I know of. And he had written one for Steve Dillon, but Dillon passed, and it ended up that he did it with Liam Sharp, Batman Reptilian. Liam Sharp, who had worked with Grant Morrison on the Green Lantern season 1 and 2. And you checked it out. I checked it out. Well, there's 2 issues out so far.
Maybe I'm jumping. You know, I'm a big Garth fan. Always have been, and I think he's kind of underrated. No, he's not underrated. He's considered probably one of the best creators of all time. But I just feel like sometimes he gets sort of put on the bottom of the pile just because of whatever kooky stories, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, like, I don't want to jump the gun on this, but this is one of the coolest Batman stories I've read maybe ever, or in a very long time. That's for sure.
It struck me as I don't think I like it that much, but I do like his depiction of Batman. I like how fucking cruel he is. He's so mean. Like, Warren Ellis tries to write Batman like this, but doesn't do it. Garth manages to properly make a mean Batman that, like, I'm in issue 2, like the Penguin's like, he's got his guts ripped out or whatever, and he's just like, you little fucking, you gargoyle, and he's just insulting him the whole time, and then he's like, I'm gonna take some of your blood.
And he's like, I told him I called the ambulance for you, and I told them the wrong floor, so you and I had some time to talk. And he's fucking disemboweled. He's dying. Like, and Batman's confident in just like leaving him. Also, the very beginning of this set, the Reptilian set, the court case with the slimy lawyer out front, and
the boxer,
Edgar Lichario or whatever, the boxer, yeah, and he crippled that guy.
Yeah. And
he crippled that boxer. He's confined to a wheelchair after that encounter with Batman. And Batman basically like, he pushed him into attacking him, and then publicly crippled him just to let Gotham know.
Yeah,
you know? He's very disturbingly cruel. This Batman. He's mean as fuck, and he's focused. Like, none of it he did out of anger. Like.
No, because what he did is he goaded the boxer, and the lawyer's like, don't do it, and then he walks away. Batman walks away like self-defense, and he does it in front of all the cameras, and that's on the one hand that's stupid, but on the other hand, like, you tend not to see that with Batman. He would, under a different writer, he would visit that boxer, in his penthouse later, and maybe rough him up there or scare him or something like that. But this is a version of Batman that doesn't give a fuck. He's a proper terrorist.
Yeah, I like how he goes into the bar, and when he's finished, like, shaking these fucking guys down and like freaking them out, he goes, "You can consider me a regular."
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Like, what? You're gonna come and harass people in this bar all the time?
It's there's that. He's backing that guy up to the edge of a building, and I love the clever irony of it. He's like, you can walk away anytime you want. Batman doesn't kill, but the joke is, if he tries to walk away, he's gonna fall off a building. So
yeah, you can walk right off the building if you want. Doesn't give a shit. Yeah. And then he basically grabs him by the palms and by the skull and dangles him over the building anyway.
Yeah,
like, he's a nightmare. This is what, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm on record saying this before, but this is a good Batman. This is a good rendition. It's not always what you want to see, but it's sometimes what you want to see.
Yeah, because he's doing his detective stuff. Like, he's I'm going to take your blood, he does, blood, finds estrogen. You can see him like he's piecing stuff together. He's got a theory about a shark, or something. And it's kind of a weird opportunity that Garth is choosing not to take, because he's already used like all I guess the basic premise is some sort of monster is hunting all the criminals of Gotham, and so all the big ones, like Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy and Joker and Two-Face, they're all being hunted and nearly killed. And I think but it could be anyone. It doesn't really matter that it's these characters. And I think that's kind of a shame. Like, I don't know if I can live the rest of my life without knowing what Garth Ennis's Penguin is like. But if he's going to use the Penguin, I should, maybe he should use the Penguin. Like, I'm holding out hope that we're going to see a proper, something like a rendition of the Joker out of Garth Ennis. And it's probably going to be the most horrible thing that we could imagine. From the Joker.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going with this or what we're going to get out of it, but he seems to be sort of like the Batman's definitely his forefront, because he seems to be sort of like disposing of the villains, or at least not using them in any kind of serious way.
Mm-hmm.
I like the little quote in the first book too, where he says, "I'm far worse than that multicolored rabble. I will not let you die." Because he drags that like Constantine guy around, and then when he goes back to his apartment, he whispers to him, "The Batman never kills."
Yeah. He turns on the light.
Like he's stalking people. Like this guy's terrified for his life, and he's like, he's made it like so that it's like it's worse than dying. Like to have this guy fucking bird dogging you all the time,
yeah,
scaring the fucking life out of you.
Yeah. The Constantine. All right, he shows up in issue 2 as well. So I guess we're gonna, he's gonna play some sort of role.
He's Batman's bitch.
We've talked very well of this comic, and I want to say that I love Liam Sharp's art generally, but I find this very murky. I don't often know about backgrounds and stuff like that.
It's very stylistic. I think there's some very cool art. Like I think there's some parts where the reactions are great. Like when he's walking in the alley alone, Batman kind of jumps down behind them again.
Yeah.
But the writing sets a lot of that up too. Like the artwork is very beautiful. It's picturesque. It's like a painting.
It is a
like
painting.
You say, it's dark, it's murky, the action's awkward. And some of the scenes are really horrific and cool, and I kind of like the artsy way it's rendered, but yeah, I could see how it wouldn't be for everybody. It's definitely I don't understand what the fuck he was planning on doing with Steve Dillon. This doesn't seem catered to Steve.
I was thinking the same thing, but Batman in general doesn't seem like a good fit for Steve Dillon. I guess we'll never know, but the way that like anyone with a cape and cowl
story.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, because he's almost like, well, I don't know, the guy like sort of made a living on sort of making fun of superheroes, right? like he, anytime you put somebody in a costume, they made a fucking joke of it. Like that was like, I don't know, even the Punisher, like the Punisher's like not really a fucking superhero. He just wears a skull on his clothes and he butchers fucking mobsters. Like that's sort of that's perfectly tailored for him.
Yeah. So I'm curious about how this would have went down. I'm sure Steve, the guy was a professional. He was, really, really good. He would have found a way into this.
I mean, he would have. Yeah, they would have figured it out. I don't know what it would look like, but in very different.
Very, very different. Yeah, I do get the impression that the script had to have been altered to fit this art style, but but who knows? I think it's better for it. I don't want to see Steve Dillon draw this. I kind of do, but
no, I'm very interested in this as it is. So far.
I don't think I'm as much of a Steve Dillon fan as you are. I actually think Garth Ennis is.
Sometimes I just think of people getting punched in the face or kicking the balls. Nobody rendered it better.
Yeah, I just wonder if one of the reasons I don't often go back to Preacher is I'm not sure I care for the Garth Ennis Steve Dillon combo in the way that I like his other stuff, which is weird because I know Dillon handles pacing extremely well.
I was gonna say, and that's very close to, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like heresy.
Yes, yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking a thin line there.
Well, that's
I'm
fine.
gasping here a little bit,
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're gonna be like, I don't care for the Watchmen.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, the yeah. So I don't know. Batman Reptilian. I'm not ready to. And that's another thing. I don't feel I'm ready to judge it in any respect. Like, it's still, the pot's starting to boil. We're issue 2. I think
it feels like it's a big, not a big. It feels like it's like that it needs time to breathe. Like, this was a full story,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a front to back, or I think it's a 6 issue.
Yeah. So if it is, then we're not even halfway through. So, yeah, so we're going to see where it goes. I'm optimistic. I'm definitely going to finish it. I mean, how can I not?
I know. I actually bought it digitally, and then went to get the 2. I found them at a local comic store in Windsor and got pretty fired up and just bought them because I just wanted them in hand. So I double paid. Really out there supporting.
Totally
Garth,
worth it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think anyone out there buying issues of Crossed is pretty much in the Ennis camp, because although these comics, getting back to what you were saying before, these things being like snuff comics, this is some fucked up shit, and it's because Preacher's fucked up, right? But I don't think it's fucked up like this. Yeah. No,
it's not.
And this is where, and he created this concept. The first issues came out, 2012? I think I wrote it down somewhere, or maybe I didn't. That's a shame. Because I was critics. At least one critical review of the first Crossed stories, which I want to say like 2009, but I could be totally wrong about that. The first 9 issues where Garth Ennis introduces the concept. I was reading a review that kind of compared it or thought of it as a response to The Walking Dead, as Garth kind of criticizing The Walking Dead as a concept and wanting to I don't know. I don't do it. I haven't read the first arc, and I didn't finish reading that review. I didn't finish reading the review because I didn't want to spoil my opinion of the first arc. And then I never got around to it. And these, I think these issues kind of still feel like that, though. Like, this is very much in the people trying to survive the apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse. But, with more.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it does feel like that. Like, it does. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't check the timeline on it, but it would be on par for timeline of making fun of that if you were so inclined.
Yeah, or wanting to say something, because these are serious comics. So these aren't just gross comics. These are. I always love reading these. Something about this series brings something out in Garth, and he's not a bad writer by any stretch. But these always feel a little more special, and maybe that's just because I'm a sick fuck. But
it's true. And I mean, when he's got, oh man, he wrote these with Jason Burrows doing the artwork, and Jason is, in my opinion, especially in this little Badlands arc in volume 4, 1 through 3, he's inspired here. For whatever reason, he's come with his fucking A game. He's even to the point where I can tell what brand the cars are when people are throwing severed heads across the roadway. Like he's a very detailed artist. He rendered all this sick shit that Garth apparently is. And I won't blame Garth exclusively. Maybe he's throwing his 2 cents into, but there's some really fucked up moments. The throwing the baby.
Yes, yeah,
comes to mind.
Yeah,
completely rendered, like no mercy. But yeah, they both seem very inspired. Like they wanted to show something here. But
Jason's work, I much prefer it in Avatar, like because he's been doing stuff like we read it with, or actually Punisher Soviet was very good, but he's also done some superhero stuff since then, and he's working on actually the Warhammer property with Karen Gillan, and I don't like it. Like there's something. The work that he does at Avatar, I don't know if he's inspired, but it's just like there's a freedom to it. There's a looseness. I just feel his other stuff seems kind of tight or dense. That might just be the writing though, but either way, he's great.
I like that. I like watching that hillbilly in the pink bra. Mama, nah. When that monstrous woman with the heads around her waist hits him in the fucking face with an axe.
Oh shit! Yeah. Sorry, I gotta zip ahead here. Yeah. They threw the rocks and
jam Joe. Nah, mama, nah.
Cunty bollocks. And this is funny. But it's also like this. The horror, because there's also true horror in this, but I mean it's kind of offset by these little comedy pieces that just ease the tension. You kind of like to laugh at the Crossed and their funny antics because they're just the most cruel and selfish and violent things that you could possibly imagine. They're kind of like gremlins.
And then to the to the 10th degree or whatever, but then they immediately flip that comedy into like Ian fucking putting his boot and feeling her teeth cave into his boots as he just like smothers that creature like under the water.
Just keep her quiet.
Puts him on a different sort of commitment level than the rest of the group.
We should set up some basics. So I don't imagine a lot of people like. I'm curious about the download rate for this, because I can't imagine there's a huge audience for talk about this, or having like access these comics, because like the print run, like you were saying, is pretty low.
I don't even know how I got them. I think I got them from Amazon, but I think I got them closer to release date.
Yeah.
And I only specifically wanted ones with Garth because I'm sick.
Well, I don't know if I'm interested. I'm like the other creators are like Cy Spurrier and David Lapham, and I got time for Lapham. Maybe those are pretty good. Cy Spurrier, I don't know a thing about him, and I'm just not interested. Yeah, but there's been a lot of hands working on this property since Garth. But yeah, I just want to see what Garth is up to, because he is one of the greats.
I just know what he's gonna give me.
Yeah, he's gonna give you an experience. So basically, the idea is that there's this loner character. What did you say his name was?
Ian.
Write it down. Ian, right? And he's lugging along with an old guy, two sort of goof fellas, an old a soldier that might be Prince Harry. Hard to say.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. Also.
Because he's all bandaged up and fucking hurt.
Garth's an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a man and a wife, and the woman's pregnant. And one of the troubles that Ian is having is she's slowing us down. And
one of the troubles that Ian has, first of all, to establish that he's going to be that guy, is that the dude that steals a fucking chocolate ho-ho from them gets his Achilles tendons cut and left in the fucking snow.
Well, that happens in issue 2 later, but it definitely. Everybody goes along with that though, and I thought that was interesting. It's like he's kind of the mastermind out of all of them. He's the one that says we should do this, and he's smart, and he's been able to survive for a while. And
well, it seemed like the couple made their little shot at him, and the husband says he's done it before, Anya, and she says he has. They just seem like, it seems like they want to protest him, but they're just for the good of the pack. I mean, it is what it is. They just sort of go with his lead.
Mm-hmm. Although, and so behind all of this, there's an, and this gets down to Garth's. I really admired the structure of this story because it starts off past tense, but then we're viewing things as they happen, but then all the narration is still past tense, and then at some point, the narrators, and that brings us to now, and suddenly the past and the present coalesce, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's such a simple and elegant writerly trick to add stakes to things, and it's simple things like he's just such a simple craftsman, and I think that's why Garth gets kind of left behind in the thoughts. Like, I think he's a much better writer than Mark Millar, for instance, but he's not he's just not as ostentatious. I think, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I like him. I like, I don't know. I find in some cases he's better than Warren Ellis. Like, maybe that's
absolutely no. I agree.
Take, but I just find he's structured better. I find he, like, his end game is better, and I just find he doesn't have those, like, flat spots, like, where you're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, well, I actually feel like another important thing about these stories is like it sucks out not sucks out, like it resonates, like you feel emotional about these characters, and he can, and the characters themselves are interesting, whereas with Warren Ellis I never care about a Warren Ellis character, and none of them ever feel human. They all sound like Warren Ellis to me. But I just like kind of seeing the other things that he puts around that always kind of captures me. And also he's very good at action. But Garth's Garth's a master of pacing and character and atmosphere, sort of emotion. But he's all stripped back. You'll very rarely get anything like a purple prose. Like, the only thing you'll get something like, so remember they're running Ian and his wife, in the flashback before the baby gets thrown out the fucking window. The cars are zipping by, and he's talking about their attempt to survive, and he's like, control slipped through our fingers, though we dug them in and clawed, denied, refused, exhorted, cursed, and then the world turned red and fast, and that was how I lost her. So he'll have little moments of not poetry, but poetic rhetoric to kind of cap things off, and then he'll have a big splash page, and he's just got the timing down flat, and Jason Burrows expertly assists him with that. But anyway, he's really great.
Even to see the guy with the Achilles tendons get cut, have them, like, the Cross came and skinned him, and used his entire skin and hair as like a pervert mask, like Leatherface, and they're like marching up the hill wearing this fucking guy's skin. Like, that's such a, like, that wasn't written in. Like you fucking Burroughs here fucking rendered that beauty for us.
That's funny.
To be so comfortable at art, or with your art style, that you can bring that to the table and, like, make me go, oh, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I found that kind of stuff impressive, and that was in the details throughout.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, like, it's entirely possible, yes, that Burroughs drew that independently, but this is the same Garth Ennis who, like, I sent you the image.
I'm not assuming that Garth didn't write it. I'm just saying, like, even like, if whether Garth wrote it or they did it in tandem or Burroughs did it, whichever one of them did it. Yeah. If it was part of the script or whatever, it's just impressive to not to not give any detail and just show that, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. And then you just, you have to, they got hairy first. Now we'd never know for sure. They're fucking sawing this guy's.
He's dragging himself through the snow.
Yeah. I don't, and he wants to, and I guess maybe this is where it gets a little weaker for me. But Garth wants to talk about the crossed as some sort of metaphor, as the post-apocalyptic zombie scenario as psychology. You know, like Ian, throughout the whole story, issues 1 through 3, he's like, I should abandon these people. I should abandon these people, but I can't. You know, like something's preventing me, and I'm watching it kill me. And if I just fucked off on these people, I could continue to survive. But I need to be human. I need to be with the people, or be a person still. And that, is in the end, like he won't commit suicide. He's got that extra grenade that he's been keeping the whole time. And actually, it's kind of an open question. He's left, like the crossed have surrounded him. He's pulling the pin and he's trying to tell himself to pull the pin and explode. But like, I don't think he does.
He leaves you with that in the next story we're going to talk about as well. He leaves you with sort of a like you can make your own assumptions. I mean, he put it pretty cut and dry, but I mean, there's a couple scenarios that could happen.
Yeah, and it's an interesting. That's a good writerly trick too. Like leave you something to think about. And yeah, I don't know. Things like that.
Eat me.
Yeah, eat me. I'm really tempted to make that the. Let's see how YouTube thinks of that.
Oh, getting taken down. That is fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Hilariously enough, more horrific than some of the other scenes.
Why? It's because he's sweating. He's sweating and he's panicked and he doesn't understand. Like, they haven't killed him. They're just like making him eat out this awful zombie woman. Just eat me. And he's like, no, this is worse than death.
That's so fucking bizarre. Well, I mean, they're raping him.
They are, yeah.
So that's its own thing. That's fucked up. I don't know. What are these guys? And then the little sisters like strapped to that bearded cross guy. He's like they dug up her like fucking little snowy corpse, and he has it like tied to his back. It's fucked up.
Yeah, and then later on at the end, after like it shows that the old guy got turned to crossed, and then it's the brother. He's the one holding her afterwards, and then fucking. You're right about the leather-faced guy. That's funny. Yeah, it's a weird scenario, to say the least. I guess so I guess that brings us, we might as well go over now to another weird scenario, issue 25 to 28 of Crossed Badlands, illustrated this time by Raulo, I want to say Sequeires. Seems right. The Fatal Englishman.
The Fatal Englishman.
Yeah. 1 through 4.
Really enjoyed this one.
Aren't not so good, but perfectly serviceable for this sort of story.
Yeah, the artwork, I didn't care for it after, because I feel like that was because Burroughs was a sort of a hard act to follow, though.
Yeah.
He was really fucking good. Like not like really good. And so, like, I mean, despite the fact that this was, I mean, our like, who's the artist for this?
Raulo
Sequeires? Sequeires. Anyway, he's excellent. There's nothing wrong with his art. I think it was great. And like you said, I think it kind of, for whatever reason, sort of reminds me of Derek Robertson a bit. In the way he's doing the facial expressions. So I think it goes well with Garth.
Yeah.
So it worked just fine, and I did get used to it. I started to like it closer to the end.
Yeah, it's perfectly serviceable, and I think one of the reasons it's able to work is because the Sequeira's is able to illustrate facial, like recognizable facial expressions. And Garth's writing, whatever its strengths, it really does require someone who can illustrate emotion, uh, who can follow direction. And
like little
this
things
guy's pretty good.
Like
Yeah.
shock and anger, rage, side glances, sort of sarcastic smiles. Like Garth's writing needs that.
Yeah, particularly a sarcastic smile.
And a side glance.
Yeah.
You gotta have that. If you don't have that in the repertoire, I mean, don't call Garth. Yeah.
Yeah. or he won't call you. The main character of this story, Harry. So there's 4 characters. They're like special forces guys. Taff, Patty, Harry, and Jock. And they basically, they're on their way to do something. We don't know quite what yet. And they come across this priest who's been protecting these children, and he's doing a fucking shit job of keeping the children safe because they're about to get run over by Crossed, and so they're rescued. And then I guess the rest of the plot, it's revealed that these guys, they're on their way to release. They're going to the Wiltshire biological / chemical research facility in order to they're going to release a plague in the hopes of wiping out all of the Crossed, and the plague they think is at least at this stage they're like, well, it's probably better than the Crossed. People, it'll kill the Crossed and people will survive. And maybe we can rebuild. And and then everything flows after that. I didn't like Harry as much as I liked Ian.
No, Harry's not a nice guy. And this is he's interesting though, and I mean, I think that one of the cool sort of little factors in this story is that the special forces team isn't really in any imminent danger from the Crossed. That's established a couple times in the beginning of the story that they're capable of just cleanly sort of mobilizing. They don't put themselves in tactically weak positions. They don't move unless it's appropriate to move. They got good eyes everywhere. They got good men everywhere, and they're capable of taking down 30 odd of these Crossed very handily and easily, and just sort of moving on from objective to objective. So you're not really, you don't have to, the story can be told around them because they're not in any danger of the Crossed, getting them, which sort of is kind of a different, they're able to do kind of a different narrative than the Ian story because of that.
That's a really good point, because this actually what you're describing allows this story to work, because it's so Garth has like Warren. I think the comparison to Warren Ellis is good for contrast and comparison, because like Warren Ellis, Garth has speeches that he wants to give you from time to time. It's just something that he likes to do in his writing.
Yeah. And particularly dislikes religion.
Yeah, I don't know. And this one's kind of because the main character Harry, he's a straight up British imperialist. You might even wonder if he's a British supremacist. Tracing himself back to the Normans and stuff like that. And the story opens up with pages and pages of this panegyric that the main character is giving about England, and so Garth turns this cross story into an argument between two empires, between the Roman Catholic Empire and the British Empire, and because the story favors Harry, the priest kind of gets treated like shit. And all the priest is like, well, the British Empire did a bunch of stuff, and he's like, nah, not like you guys, and the story lets that slip, it just lets it fly, lets it slide, And so it's not even really an argument. It's just kind of like a bully session, where the soldier bullies the priest, telling him like how wrong he is, at the same time as how he was still very good for having saved those children.
Well, I think that I think too that like in terms of that is like he's like purposefully portraying that the priest would have no argument that was good enough to defend against the Garth rant or whatever.
Yeah, he's completely flabbergasted at every turn, by the and it's just art. And Garth's Irish. If I I hope I'm right about that. The and Irish Catholic. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on there. Like he's and one of the characters was running from the IRA and ended up also Irish, joined the British military. Like it's just an opportunity that the dude's
Garth
obsessed.
Is Northern Irish.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad I wasn't wrong about that. The yeah, he's just working some stuff out, and this story is just kind of an opportunity for him to do a war story, because that's where this dude comes from. He comes from, like, that's his primary mode. I think Garth's primary mode is the war story, and that's what he's going to want to like gravitate towards.
Yeah, and I think yeah, and I mean so that way he can tell his sort of like soldiers versus the church sort of story. But I mean, like, one other little thing I was going to point out too was like sort of to go with that whole like fact that these guys aren't in any danger is they immediately encounter the crossed. They save the kids and the priest, and they mow down like whatever dozens of these fucking monsters, and then he pulls over Harry and goes, "Hello, young lovers," and finds that little cop midget.
Yeah.
Fisting that big fat creature or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just fucking cracking up. They're in no danger whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think that's he wants to establish that as the cross for this particular narrative, right? So that you're not worried about your characters being killed while this is going on. Right?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Yeah, because it's one for the records, one for the books, they say. But it, because they've seen everything.
Yeah, and then they do then later on he shows that the like how they're using like basically like
skin
human skins to cover the boardwalk or whatever.
Yeah, of whatever.
Deeply disturbing and horrific. And like, I mean, like, he's not taking the horror away from the landscape. Like, he's still letting you're in the crossed, universe or whatever.
But even then, the soldier, like, I laughed, and he's like, "But is it art?" He's like, "How can you?"
Yeah,
that?
That's right. Yeah, and there's a little comment, right?
Yeah, and it does always stay on that register, and like until the very end, when they're basically like, "Well, let's go out on a suicide pact." But up until that moment, they've been smart, until they had to storm. But even then, they get through pretty easily, lock themselves in the vault, and then they're fine with until they decide to just go out guns a-blazing because they can't release the virus, which kind of makes the story stupid.
But, it does, because especially since considering the effort they put forth. Prior to that, too, you get Harry's little side story about how he blew his entire family away.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid them being turned into the cross, which was very dark. But also cool. Such a Garth Ennis moment.
Yeah, it also factors into like the reason he kills his fellow soldiers at the end, because they're about to go out on a suicide pact, and they don't realize, and I'm not even sure if the soldier realizes, but in the narration he's like, and I realized that I loved them, and then he kills them like he had killed his family, because he didn't want to see, well, as they put it, he didn't want to see them mutilated or defiled which both would have happened, or resurrected as demons, and that's fair. I don't know. That's a fucked up world.
Yeah, and I like the kind of scene afterward, when they said there followed a pause for around 1,000 years, and he's just kneeling in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of shows the transformation of Harry, where he commits to like basically shooting his way out of that situation afterward and carrying on.
I feel that he's going to, because they set up explosives, right? So I read it that he was waiting for the explosives to go off. So he's drawing in all the crossed.
Yeah, I think he set the explosives. So he's going to blow the whole lab, set loose all the viruses. And also,
I think he's destroying the virus. I think he's destroying the virus, but he's going to blow up a bunch of these fucking creeps with him. Anyway, that's how I read it.
Yeah.
They do talk about how they're so flammable. You couldn't just release it by blowing them up or something.
Congratulations to Rollo as well, or hopefully, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but really impressive work on the penis lady with the Medusa penis hair. It really took a long time really looking that over, unfortunately for me, and it's gonna stay etched in my mind for a long time.
Yeah, it's all different types of penises,
I really
one of them
took it all
stitched into her breast. Yeah, I think she's got balls attached to a spiked stick. Yeah, I guess that's what those are too.
Oh wow, thank you. Yeah, wasn't sure what that was. Great.
Yeah, thanks, Garth.
Flies on it too.
Yeah. Yeah, man, he's got some troubles, the old Garth.
Yeah. Everybody here has got some deep, deep trouble.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
He's gonna nuke the site from orbit.
Yeah.
Basically. Oh yeah, I forgot about that final page too.
Where they're all running at him. Yeah.
The vagina boob stitched mask. What the fuck?
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that's the weirdest image.
That's fucking really bad. That's like very Hellraiser-ish of him.
Yeah.
Of them.
Yeah, no, he's like stitched all these vaginas on him. I didn't even notice that part. Fuck. Years and it's all weird. One of them's fucking a severed head. I'm seeing that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, a lot of time spent. What are the other ones doing? They're looking at a handicap sign. They're just looking at it. That's the weirdest part. Oh well.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, because it's all gonna fucking go kablooey. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, he doesn't even have his gun up. Like he wants to blow the place. Like.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know. The
Oh no, he did have his gun up. He emptied his clips, and
I thought he put a new one in. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a new clip. It's got new bullets. The other one's dropping. Yeah, who knows? He's smiling. But it gets back to this, like the idea. So similar to Ian didn't want to give up on being people, and for him that led to becoming crossed. And similarly, Harry, he doesn't want to give up on Empire. And there's that speech that Patty gives about being a soldier, and he's like, what after you're wearing a uniform just like everybody else, and it makes you feel like somebody. And I don't know how that factors into Harry's story here, but Harry does talk about devotion, fanaticism, being related to the crossed, and this guy, he's a fanatic. Like it's entirely possible that he's walking out there to become one of them because he doesn't know how else to be. Yeah, because he doesn't shoot himself or shoot them. So
no.
Anyway, crossed. Food for thought. Food for
treat yourself.
Yeah. It'll definitely. Do we want to
keep it up high? Keep it up high on the bookshelf.
Keep it away from the kids.
Keep it away from everybody. I don't know.
Fucking ball sacks. I don't know.
Fucking skin suits. I don't know.
Within the Garth milieu, it's got to be. I think I scored a couple different ways. Like, I think as a comic, I'd never give this to anyone, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad comic, but
no, it's definitely. I don't know that I'd fire it off as a recommendation to a friend, or anything.
Yeah. But I'm give it like 7.5, like out of like just being. It is what it is. It's nothing more. Definitely 8 with Jason Burrows.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable in around there too. Just to say, like if you were a big comic book fan and you were like, hey, oh man, love Garth Ennis, I might actually be. Well, hey man, have you dipped into his cross?
Yeah, and see where their line is. But if you're a big Garth Ennis fan, then you definitely want to read these books because they're solid. Yeah, they bring out some good and bad qualities from Garth, but it's certainly not middle of the road. Like it's high octane. I've seen him write some fucking dreck, and strangely this isn't that, and it easily could have been given the publisher and given the subject material. He didn't.
He could have gone good. No, it's true. He could have gone full splatter. There was no need to do really artsy like sort of narrative storytelling, like timeline storytelling, like you described. You didn't really have to do that. If you wanted to, you could have just popped shock value. And he saved them. He saved them for sort of key increments at the end of the story to deliver the horror when required. And just kept his story kept the heads above water. Took the high road, which was cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm saying he took the high road, and then there was the fisting, but
but that is the high road for him. Like you could easily find you could find something like that in Preacher, and like that's or fucking and I forget how bad, and I don't mean bad, but like how rotten and fucked up The Boys is. Like the original comic, Anyway, Garth, I think we should do. You've got a lot more Garth on your shelf. I'd love to do some more Garth. We might want to even do all the Preacher. Just go through it.
I'm interested in exploring more Garth. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. I think that'd be great. Because he's his catalog is huge, and there's so much good stuff in there. Yeah. So anyway, I guess that's that. Garth Ennis, Crossed, Badlands. Check it out if you like Garth, or if you if you're just very comfortable with fucked up shit, that might be good for you too.
Now all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.